Thank you so much, everybody, for having me this afternoon. It's wonderful to be back with Republican Women Federated in this region. And the timing worked out very nicely. I was in San Diego yesterday. I'll be in Big Bear tomorrow and in the Bay Area next week. So this is a statewide race that I'm involved in. And I want to also share my delight in joining a lot of the fellow candidates here that have been introducing themselves, and in honoring Peter Kuo, my dear friend, who has served the Republican Party so honorably and who has helped so many of us along the way. So thank you, Peter, for joining us today, and we're also happy to honor you. Ladies and gentlemen, the race I'm in is very, very important for California Treasurer because the stakes really have never been greater. There are so many issues that require attention immediately. I'll just share a few that I'm fighting for and that I'm raising awareness about. One is the combined debt in the state of California, which when you consider on and off balance sheet liabilities, we converge on a figure of $1.5 trillion. That is the total debt of the state of California. And for comparison, when you think about that relative to gross domestic product or the size of the California economy, we converge on a ratio that's close to 150%. That's factoring in the state share of federal debt. Now, 150% means that the size of our debt exceeds the activity economically in the entire state of California by 1.5 ratio. Think about just how massive the debt is. And the ratio that we observed in the peripheral Eurozone countries in Europe, like Portugal, Greece, Italy, Spain, which 10 years ago were facing austerity measures and near collapse, they were looking at ratios of debt to GDP that were right around the same vicinity that we find ourselves in California. And so for me, as an economist, this is an alarming early warning indicator. And I think that we need to take this very seriously. Our credit rating, as a consequence, is among the lowest in the country. At AA negative, according to Standard & Poor's, we only have 6 states in the United States that have a worse credit rating than California does, including Illinois, which is about to fall apart, for the same trajectory of mismanagement that is afflicting the state of California. Among the debt that I talked about, we have an unfunded pension liability that stands at a staggering $1 trillion. This is the difference between the future stream of obligations, promises that we have made, and the present value of the assets, $1 trillion. And for perspective, the size of the annual budget in the state of California hovers around $300 billion. So that means we would have to shut down government tomorrow, like just shut it down for the next 3 to 4 years and continue to tax you several times over just to recover from this gap. That's how serious the predicament is. And so I intend to advocate for the taxpayer and to testify regularly in the Assembly and in the State Senate until those legislators are sick and tired of seeing my face. That is not coming from very briefly, ladies and gentlemen, a little bit about my background. I was born and raised in the city of Guerrero, which is in Los Angeles County, about 20 miles southeast of downtown LA, a very troubled city in a very troubled region. For reference, my neighboring city is Bell, and many of you have heard of the city of Bell. This is the town which 10 years ago featured a city manager paying himself $1.5 million a year. Brings new perspective to the term public servant. And in that town, by the way, the average income is about $30,000 for the average citizen. So a very disgusting violation of the public trust. In my own city, we had a very similar episode of corruption. The dollar signs were a little bit smaller, but the conduct no less egregious. And back in 2012, when the scandal afflicted my city, I decided to get involved. I was born and raised in the city. I haven't always lived there. I went to Harvard, I went to Stanford. I got degrees in economics. I spent a year abroad studying at Oxford. And I worked for many years in the financial services sector in New York, in Zurich, Switzerland, in London. Many years I spent away. I was living in New York City right around 2012 when I decided to come back to California. My parents were still around, and my grandparents and nephews and nieces that barely recognized me. And like most Mexican kids, I can't be away from my parents for too long. So Italians, I think, are very similar, you know. So maybe we do have a lot in common, Miss Caruso. But I came back, and within a couple of months, very providentially, the scandal happened in my city, and I really had to look myself in the mirror and determine whether it was the right time for me to step forward, and I did. And let me tell you, it was like playing Sim City in real life. We fired the city manager, the city finance director, the community services director, and we rebuilt a city from scratch. We really did. One of the first things I did was call upon the California Controller to initiate a forensic examination of my city's accounts. That was important because I was about to unleash the greatest government reform measures in my city's history, and I needed independent corroboration before proceeding with that policy prescription. When the controller ignored me, I went to the Los Angeles Times. They wrote an article about my endeavor, one of the few favorable articles about a Republican elected official in LA County. They published that, and within a few days, the controller came knocking on the door and delivered the forensic examination that I was demanding. Another thing that I'm very proud of in my early mayorship was taking on the public schools. And for me, this is exceptionally personal because I am a survivor of a decrepit public education in one of the most mismanaged school districts in the United States of America. And so for me, it was very important to take on a failure factory public school in my city where 80% of the kids were failing to read or write or perform basic arithmetic at grade level. And those standards are already low to begin with. So if there was a problem school in my city, I decided to hold public hearings in my city council chamber, replete with minutes and video and podium and people testifying at the microphone, and I indicted the local school as a failure factory. Within a few days, representatives of Los Angeles Unified School District summoned me to downtown LA. We met at the table, and within a few days after that, the principal of the very troubled elementary school was removed, and the rest of the administration followed in short order. It's just a testament to what can happen if you push the envelope just a little bit. Now, I'm very excited, ladies and gentlemen, about this upcoming election cycle for so many reasons. Number one, we have the most diverse, the most competent, the most compelling slate of Republican candidates up and down the state that we have observed in at least a generation. Congratulations to all the candidates here. It's really excellent. And you know what? We're going to surprise the left-wing establishment in November, because I think the path to victory for many of us is going to go through those communities that historically have not voted Republican. That's the truth. Hispanic Americans, for example, Wall Street Journal reports that 37% of Hispanics nationwide are positioned to vote Republican in the upcoming midterms. 37%. As compared to 37% for Democrats. So for the first time ever, Wall Street Journal is reporting a balanced demographic. I saw an updated poll a couple of weeks ago that revealed 45 and 43% as the new mix for Hispanic Americans. That's remarkable. Among African Americans, when Joe Biden took his position as president, his approval rating with African Americans was at 75%. Today, 50% approval rating. It's been cut in half, practically. Asian Americans, only a third believe that President Biden should be president of the United States. Only a third. So think about this, ladies and gentlemen. When you look at working class families up and down the state who have disproportionately been affected by the detrimental policies of the left, like inflation and the precarious economic conditions that we find ourselves in, they are going to wake up and stand up against the Democratic Party. And it transcends inflation and economy, by the way. It's about the decrepit public education that has afflicted many working class communities. It's about the neglect of public safety. And it's about the woke agenda that is its own worst enemy. My town, by the way, is 98% Hispanic, mostly Spanish speaking, and 90% Democrat. Think about that. I know all of my neighbors. Not a single one of them, not one, ever signed on to teaching transgender education and sexuality to 5-year-olds. Not a single one of them. Not a single one. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close with a very short story because this is very emotional to me, and it's also an indicator of what motivates me to stay in this fight. In 2013, when there was a corruption scandal afflicting my city, and everyone lost hope in local government, there was a lady, 85 years old, a very simple woman. She didn't go to Harvard. She doesn't read Adam Smith or Edmund Burke. She's just a simple woman. She came to me and she said, "Jack, I know I can trust you. I know I can trust you," is what she said to me. "Hijo, te tengo confianza," is what she said. And I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I am fighting for Californians up and down this state, but I am thinking about people like that woman who for at least a generation have been represented by corrupt politicians. And I am here to tell you that I shall never violate that trust. God bless you all, and God bless you.